Hello all, my name is Yossi, and in today's short lesson we will try and sort out some misunderstandings surrounding the term Masoretic text. This lesson is dedicated to the memories of my parents, my father and teacher Avraham Shmuel ben Simcha Bunim, and my mother and teacher Chana bat Shimon. Over the years, I've encountered a real lack of knowledge about the term Masoretic text. And some videos and articles explain how it's a rabbinically altered version of some earlier, more accurate Hebrew biblical text. Others claim that it is full of mistakes, while others claim that it is the earliest Hebrew biblical text in our possession today. Well, I'm sure that there are other issues taken with it, but one thing remains constant. There are many Christian apologists who have no real knowledge about this very important text. So let's start with a simple explanation. The term Masoretic text typically refers to the 9th and 10th century texts codified by a group of scribes called the Masoretes. The Masoretes divide a system of markings for what had been passed down orally until their time. These markings include vowels, accent markings, cantillation markings, and punctuation. The Masoretic text also includes word counts, lexical cross-reference information, and other information about the text. When we look at an ancient scroll, or a modern Torah scroll for that matter, we note that there's only text. There's no vowels, cantillation markings, etc. Even newspapers and the overwhelming number of books that we read don't have any of markings other than modern punctuation. This is what all Hebrew texts looked like before the Masoretes came along. Ancient texts, again, without the vowels, etc., that match the Masoretic text, the texts that we use today, are called proto-Masoretic texts. Now, I'm sure that this will raise some eyebrows, but the evidence of the existence of proto-Masoretic texts that predate Jesus is so overwhelming that it's impossible to contradict. Professor Emmanuel Tov, one of the preeminent Dead Sea scholars of our time, writes in his article, Reflections on the Many Forms of Hebrew Scripture in Light of the LXX and 4Q Reworked Pentateuch. From the 3rd century BCE onwards, the period covered by the scrolls found at Qumran, MT, the Masoretic text, was the most frequently used text in ancient Israel. This is visible from scrolls from Qumran and the other sites in the Judean desert, as well as the much later rabbinic literature. At that time, the precursors of the Masoretic text contained only consonants, but vocalization and cantillation signs were added towards the end of the first millennium, together with the details of the Masorah. The 6,000 medieval manuscripts of the Masoretic text differed only slightly in all of these details. It is a miracle, albeit a man-made one, that the Masoretic text remains unchanged over the past 2,000 years. This lack of textual intervention is visible when one compares the fragments found at Masada, Nachal Hever, and Nachal Murabat with manuscripts from the Middle Ages. There are almost no differences in the consonants between Codex Leningradis and the Aleppo Code, or the Aleppo Codex from the early Middle Ages, and the text from Masada, Nachal Hever, and Nachal Murabat. The level of variation between them is no higher than that among the medieval texts themselves. The most ancient scrolls in our possession are from Qumran. These are the famous Dead Sea Scrolls, and the earliest scrolls date from around the 3rd century BCE. Qumran was destroyed in 70 CE, so the latest scrolls from Qumran can be no later than that. The largest single grouping of scrolls from Qumran are, surprise, Proto-Masoretic. Scrolls from Nachal Hever and Nachal Murabat are later. These sites were destroyed by the Romans during the Bar Kokhba revolt between 132 and 135. But they are all Proto-Masoretic. Scrolls from Masada are older. Masada was destroyed in 73 CE, and they are also all Proto-Masoretic. So what does all this mean? Well, simply stated, the Masoretic text was the standard biblical text from at least the 1st century, and it remains, due to the scrupulous and unparalleled dedication of the holy scribes who copied it, unchanged until today. Thank you, Kol Tuv, and God bless.